I really wrote the book for three different reasons. One, to kind of, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, people are starting to start a business, to understand that your business doesn't go in a straight line. And inside the book, we're pretty honest of the issues that we had. We had some ups and downs, as I often say, that when you start a business, you have some good days, you have some bad days, and you can have some really bad days. And so I'm going to talk about that in the book, and then also around our Sports Matter Foundation and how it's so important for kids to be able to get out and play sports. And we're losing that today. There's roughly 27% of the public high schools in the country today that don't have a sports program. And if you think about that, it's really, as I've said, it's catastrophic for our kids. They get out of school at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they've got no place to go. And the sports crisis in the country is really gotten to be a real problem, and we're trying to help solve that so that kids can have a chance to play. Kids do need a place to go after school. They need a place where they belong. They need a place where they're going to be with their friends, and we're losing that. We're actually losing that in places where we really need it the most, in the inner city. And then I'm also going to talk about what we did from a gun standpoint, where we, after Parkland was kind of the culmination of what we thought about from a gun standpoint. We thought the system was broken, and we made some real changes in our gun policy, where we would no longer sell any of the assault-style weapons. We would not sell any high-capacity magazines, and we would no longer sell guns to anyone under 21. But the book is, it's really kind of a journey of a business, of how it started with my father, and is this small entrepreneurial business that was started really from $300 from a cookie jar from his grandmother, who was a real depression-ridden family. They had nothing. My father was actually surprised she even had $300 to give to him, and that's how the business started, and how the trials and tribulations he went through, and then passing the business from one generation to the next, which a lot of businesses and families have to try to deal with that, and then how we grew the business to what it is today. And it was, as we try to talk to people who are starting a business, it wasn't in a straight line. There was some real ups and downs, and we almost went out of business twice, and came very, very close to going out of business. And but we're happy to be back here, and things seem to be going pretty well right now. So I'd be happy to open it up to any questions.
Bailey, who's starting?
Yes, why was the timing right for you to release the book right now?
Well, it's something I've thought about for a long time, and I've wanted to write a book for quite a while. Primarily, my kids have asked me to do it, to kind of chronicle everything that's happened, and it seemed the right time right now, based on what's going on from a sports standpoint in this funding crisis in the country that we have a great expertise in, and that we see how it's really impacting kids' lives, and we've got to try to help that. And then what happened from a gun standpoint, pulling all of those things together, this just seemed like the right time to finally sit down and say, you know what, sit down and get this done. It really needs to be done.
Thank you.
Sure.
Kevin.
I'm guessing some of that writing was difficult. I mean, you were pretty open, pretty revealing.
Yep.
How difficult was it, and why did you choose to be so open?
Well, I chose to be so open because I said, if you're going to write a book, then it's going to be honest. If you really want to try to let people know what it's like to, transition a business from one generation to the next, and if you really want to let people know that it doesn't go in a straight line, you need to be honest about that. And one of the things that really helped me in the business is Sam Walton's book. So he wrote some books, or people wrote books about him, and he was really honest about the fact that he had some tough times. I think he started his business 3 times before he finally got it right. And in an odd kind of way, his failure was kind of inspirational to us when we had some of those difficult times. So I felt, he was honest. I thought I should be honest. And so it wasn't really that difficult to do, because that was the intent from the beginning.
Dan.
Yeah, so the Binghamton area really has been kind of exploding with a lot of new businesses, small business owners and such. Can you kind of talk about just, the impact that coming and giving your story might have on this area, your hometown?
Well, I hope it has some impact, that some people who are starting a business kind of will understand that there'll be those difficult times, and it'll give them, the courage and the fortitude to power through some of those difficult times, the same way as some of the books that I read when my hair was a different color, that really helped me get through a lot of this stuff.
With your decision to pull certain guns from the shelves, while it did impact sales for a bit, how do you think it impacted the company overall?
So we did what the announcement we had from a gun standpoint, it had an impact on the business. We knew that it would. We kind of laid out what it would. But if you think back and read the book and understand our business, it was absolutely the right thing for us to do. And we've always tried to do the right thing. We talk about that a lot in the book, about how important kids are. And kids have always been the mainstay of our business, and everything we've done has been around kids. So it was, again, a lot of people ask me, that must have been a hard thing to do. And it really wasn't, because it never seems hard to do the right thing.
Obviously, earlier you donated money for the Fairview Park, and through your book, how are you keeping your legacy going, your family legacy?
Well, I don't know if we really think about a legacy. We just want to try to help out while we can. And, we just announced that we're going to redo the Little League field and the softball field up at Fairview Park. And that place holds great memories for me and my family and my friends. When I was a kid, I lived on Ardsley Road. I rode my bike from there early in the morning and played baseball till it was time for lunch, go back home, have lunch, come back out, play baseball, go back home, and then play Little League games there at night. So it was just a great place to be, and kids need a place to go. They need a place to be able to play sports. They need a place to be with their friends. They need a place to be mentored by coaches. And sports were so important in my life that I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had sports, but I know what I wouldn't be doing, and I wouldn't be doing this. And I just think it's so important for these kids to have a place to go and be mentored. I remember every coach I ever had. And I remember the two coaches up there at Fairview Park, Mr. Carter and Mr. Carter, and two brothers that coached us, and they were great to us kids.
People seem to keep writing the obituary for brick and mortar retail.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on the future of brick and mortar retail?
Well, I think brick and mortar retail, certain brick and mortar retailers are going to be just fine and continue to grow. I think there's going to continue to be more retail consolidation. So there's going to be a number of more stores that are going to close. There are a number of other retailers, I think, that are going to go out of business. So there's still going to be some big losers from a retail standpoint. But that gives an opportunity for some really big winners. And right now, I think it's a fascinating time to be in retail. The way it's being disrupted, what's going on from an online standpoint, how you put together an omni-channel retailer so a customer can shop online in the store, buy something online, pick it up in the store. It's a fascinating time, and I think we're ahead of the curve on a lot of this. And a lot of people don't realize that our first online sale was in 1999. So we've been at this for a very long time, and today you have to make sure as a retailer that you give the consumer, or what we call the athlete, an experience in the store that they can't get online, or an experience that they really want to have in the store. And we've got a great team, and they've done a great job getting that done, and our business is doing really, really well.
Hi, Mr. Stark. I'm Richard Giannasio. Question was asked earlier about the impact of your decision to stop selling assault rifles
Yep.
on your business. But it seems that the impact may have been greater than that. Not just on the business, but in terms of opening awareness and being a role model.
Yeah.
So my question is, from the time you made that decision to go that route and up until the present, what are some watershed moments that stick most in your mind?
Well, I think I think we've had a real impact on those, on this national conversation. And one of the things, I promised that I would keep this conversation going. So I would say, other than the announcement that we made and kind of what happened after that, my wife and I were invited down to meet with the families from Parkland about 2 weeks after we made our announcement. And you want to talk about a day that you will never forget. To listen to those parents talk about their kids and what happened to them was just, no parent should ever have to go through that. And I remember one woman talking to me who said that, she said, it's been a month since my son was killed. I go into his room every night, and I sit on his bed, and I talk to him. And as a parent, you can't even imagine what that must be like. So in one of the things that I asked all the parents from Parkland when we were leaving, I said, what is it that you would like me to do? And they said, we would like you to keep the conversation going. So that was a big watershed moment. And I need to make sure that we keep this conversation going, which was one of the reasons why I wrote the book. It talks about, all the things of how you built the business to be in a position to be able to make these kind of differences. And one of the reasons to write the book was the commitment to those families to keep it going.